There was a time when it was different, when the Mistral blew down the long Ricard Strait just as surely as the wind flicks the waves of the Mediterranean Sea. He drives around Cannes now, a local councillor on the go, except for those pauses. The houses his father built, the first home for his friend, Gilles Villeneuve. Lunch with Claude Legazec, he of Matra, he the bon viveur with the classic Ferraris and the exotic tales. And then in a Côte d'Azur sunset, the memories. The Elf days, Formula 2, Formula 1, Can-Am, Formula 5000, and Gilles. He won those races with Gilles. Well, I think we should talk about Gilles, because I can feel Gilles a little bit here with us now, Patrick. And I know it'll be emotional for you, and it is for me too, but you were very close to him. When did you first meet Gilles?
It was 76 in Three Rivers.
Wow, in Trois-Rivières, the former Atlantic, which you did, which James Hunt did.
They were trying to con us in order to evaluate Gilles.
Yeah.
And he actually drove very well, and but he's everywhere around me all the time.
Yeah.
Every time I think about the Ferrari 27, I get to think about it, Gilles.
Yeah. If you think about it, if I think about it now, with the passage of time and what you did in that number 27 Ferrari at Hockenheim on the day Pironi had that accident, and then subsequently at Imola, which was the circuit, of course, where it all started with Gilles and Pironi. When I think of what you did those 2 days and you won there, that kind of transcends Formula One. That goes into something much bigger. That goes into sport and human nature and something that's almost intangible, I think. And it is amazing. I remember thinking at the time, the pressure you were under, not only from Ferrari, the normal Ferrari pressure, but to be in Gilles' place. Can you try and put into words what it was like at Hockenheim, first of all?
Well, I think you're one of the rare person that really did get that feeling. I don't know, maybe because you were always seeing racing through Ferrari, your friendship with Carlos Reutemann.
And my friendship with Gilles.
And Gilles, yes.
Yeah,
well,
our friendship, yeah.
And maybe that's all those instants, all those moments together were always sharp.
Yeah.
Very, very sharp on.
Yeah, yeah.
And I always felt that I had not been alone in that car, or in those cars. I was there for a mission. I was there as a second man. You know.
And so he was there on your shoulder saying, "Come on, Patrick, come on, you can do this." But at Hockenheim, there was the Pironi accident as well that you had to overcome, and get in that race car and do it. How did you do that?
I think the car was after Gilles' accident. The car was really thought, redesigned with Mauro Forghieri, Harvey Postlethwaite. They were really thinking about really making that car safer, because it was supposed to be a very dangerous car. And that transformed the car. Yeah. And it became stiffer in the suspension, stiffer on the tub to the engine, and gave us a winning car.
You were talking to Ferrari for 78, and
yes. In 77.
Yeah, in 77.
Around.
And in many ways, you could have been in the Ferrari instead of Gilles, and he would have been in the McLaren instead of you.
Yes, not too many people know about that.
Yeah, basically at that moment, your career was defined. Gilles lived in Cannes as well, right?
Yes.
And he lived in Cannes probably because of you? I'm only guessing now.
No,
he heard all about it from you?
No, you're right. When I went back after signing with McLaren, I went back to Canada for the Can-Am race, and Gilles was racing.
Huge Can-Am car.
Also with a bad car. I was with a good car.
Yeah.
And I told him that McLaren had picked me up, which he got nicked because he had the contract.
Yeah.
I said, Ferrari is looking for a guy. So you should come to Monza to meet them. You have to go on site to meet them. So he did come, and he did sign with Ferrari.
But let's talk about you, though. Let's talk about that Imola win, because that was a slightly different one, because it was San Marino. It was obviously that circuit which was full of emotion, and there was the Canadian flag on the grid. exactly the same position as Gilles, P3. And I remember seeing you before, I remember chatting to you before the race, maybe in the car or just by the car, and you were pretty focused, but you were able to talk. Yeah, I mean, you were...
I was crying everything I had in my head.
I didn't see that. I didn't see
so intense. I didn't think
intensity. Yeah.
I didn't think I could start the race. For a minute, I didn't think I could start. I said, it's going to be too dangerous. I can't start this race. For a minute, I was like this. And all the boys had moved back. And they didn't dare coming to next to the car. And then 5 minutes before, I got my nerves again.
And the helmet on, the visor down, you then became Patrick Tambay, racing driver, doing your job, as indeed we've seen thousands of racing drivers doing their job over the years, despite this.
Until a lap where I got a close call, waking me up, saying, hey, this is not going to be that easy, you're going to fight for it. I kind of went down in my racing technique with the car. So the engine was not picking the fuel up in Tamborello, so I would go into the corner, boom, it would stop and start again. After picked up momentum again.
Can you remember the podium afterwards and your feelings after that race?
I was with Prost and Arnoux on the podium, so I don't remember anything. I was very pleased to be in front of those frogs.
I bet. You came from a whole bunch of frogs, though, but it struck me that you were always different. There were a lot of very good French drivers from your era, but you were always different in that you were you spoke very good English from day one, and you were slightly more Americanized than perhaps some of the other French drivers, and you had a different path anyway. It wasn't that easy for you to get into, as we've just discussed, to get into Formula One. But when you got there, eventually to a race-winning car like the Ferrari, you did it, and you delivered in a very special
timing.
The Renault period after that must have been very frustrating, I guess, because it was a quick car, but you had the fuel dramas all the time, and you should have won at least 3 or 4 more races in that car.
Yeah, we ran out of fuel many times, 4 or 5 times probably. Well, second or third. And broke a cable in Monza also with Nicky on my tail. The whole race, broke a cable at 4 laps to go. And French Grand Prix in Dijon, also in '84. Led the whole race with Nicky in the back. And did a little bit of a mistake because of brake knockoff. And he went inside. But anyway.
And there was another driver that you were. Well, let's just continue on Gilles, because there were so many aspects to the Gilles Villeneuve story. Do you think that he would have left Ferrari at the end of '82?
Apparently, that was going to be the case. Apparently, he had almost done his deal because he didn't get what he felt he should have gotten out of Ferrari. Which is strange because I think when I came in, I had the same. I don't think they gave me any more than they would have given him.
Yeah, but I think it was the mistrust that developed with the management over the whole Pironi-Imola thing that did it.
A relationship with Piccinini was not going.
Yeah, for me, he was a changed man after Imola, and he was a very...
And I think also he lost the trust in Pironi. Yeah. And he could not have gone with him for another year. Yeah, I think he had a lot of plans, and we'd never know.
Patrick, James Hunt was another driver, larger than Formula One, your teammate. What was that like?
Just like in the movies.
Yeah, really?
Yes, lately I think we had the chance to see a movie that was...
Yeah.
What's the name of that? Rush. With Nicky.
Yeah.
Nicky and James was a bad example for me.
Yeah?
He should have been a good example, according to John Hogan, but it was a bad influence on me, I think.
Did you see any side of James which was racing driver and technology?
He was a racing driver, but when the show was on, he was a real racing driver. Yeah. But then after that, he was also...
But what was he like in the debriefs with you in terms of helping you with the setup?
no problem,
Yeah.
straightforward. But at the time, it was not that difficult. At the time, Lafitte was already playing golf
Yeah.
at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Now they're debriefing like crazy. And
Well, they say they're debriefing. They're looking at
yeah,
computers.
yeah.
I don't know what they're actually looking at on the computers. Of course, that's another matter. But yeah,
I know,
they say
I
they
know.
are. Yeah. Yeah, no, but the golf and tennis, of course. Don't forget that too. Jarrier, Lafitte, everyone will be out 3
Yeah.
o'clock. We'd all be playing tennis and
Yes.
golf. Why not?
Today,
Yeah.
yeah, don't change that.
Yeah.
You change that.
You were good at tennis. I remember talking to you about tennis once. Actually, I remember you describing driving at Monaco was like being at the net at tennis and the volleys and using that as an analogy. And I remember thinking, yeah, that is Patrick. And I was watching you at the net one day and your eyes were like this, blazing and very reflexy and very sharp.
I don't remember saying that, but
Yeah,
I could have.
Austria,
I could
you
have.
said that to me.
I
Yeah.
could have.
I remember you saying to me in the motorhome,
It's
in
true.
the truck in Austria, we didn't have motorhomes. Yeah, and that's the bit of the tennis game that you love the most, was being at the net, and maybe that sums you up as a
It's
race driver.
also like skiing. You ski downhill, you go at Spa, or you go at Tambay, and you have a correlation. Slalom, it's like Monaco. Some giant slalom in between, tracks like Castellet or whatever.
Patrick, talking to you about those two races, Hockenheim and Imola now, in Gilles' car, it strikes me that you're very, very fair to Gilles, and not many racing drivers would be as fair as you are, in the sense that you were sharing that win with Gilles. I want to know actually what it was like for Patrick Tambay and what those wins meant for you, as distinct from sharing them with Gilles, if you get my point.
Word is fair. You have to be fair. I didn't deserve that drive at the time because I had not made the choice. I was coming back and driving the car that he was supposed to have been driving. He should have won those races. He should have been world champion with it, with that car in '82 and maybe '83. Mind you, we've been constructors. Maybe Ferrari also felt that way, that I was in a better role chasing the world championship constructors than drivers. But Gilles should have been world champion in '82 in front of Pironi.
What you achieved in those two wins was enough proof to you yourself, to Patrick Tambay, that you did have the ability to, obviously to win Grand Prix, but you could have won a lot of Grand Prix in the right situation, and you could have therefore been world champion in the right situation.
Yes, not too many people realize that. That's why I wrote that book before getting into a bad operation or a good operation. I don't know.
A great operation, yeah.
Operation to the brain. I thought that maybe I would forget everything before, so I wanted to finish and
Yeah,
put everything back into perspective.
And you've done that, and you made the point very well, and here you are looking great. And to me,
Thank you.
it's and this is life, isn't it? You know, you say that you were in Gilles' car. A lot of racing drivers would say, no, I was in Patrick Tambay's car, and I was doing the job for me. And that's what makes you a very special person, I think, and that's why it's always fun.
I felt it was better to share the glory and the win of driving a Ferrari with Gilles than being Patrick Tambay in a Ferrari. It doesn't sound good.
Tell me about Carl Haas. And now that was he was a great Tambay fan, and you drove some amazing cars for Carl Haas. And I'm thinking the Can-Am car, I'm thinking the Formula One Beatrice Lola as well. Tell me about that whole Carl Haas situation.
He's a family man. He was a father for me.
Really?
And yes.
You were that close?
Yes, I think so. Well, I mean, that's the way he made me feel.
Yeah.
How
did that happen? Because he was not an easy guy to get to know, Carl, was he?
Bernard Caillet was a key between the put us together.
Dear Bernard.
Yeah. After Brian Redmond's accident.
Right.
Another good opportunity for me. I jumped in the car and won the race in
This is a Lola 5000.
Mont-Tremblant.
Yeah, he had the big accident at Mont-Tremblant. Yeah. On the straight.
Yeah, just flipped.
Terrible.
At the time, there's been a lot of accidents.
So that was a good car though, right?
Very good.
I guess.
Well, I was a hot shoe driving a hot car in the States.
In a championship that was amazing because they were quick cars, 5-litre Chevrolet Formula 5000 on dangerous circuits with a very high standard of driving. Drivers including, of course, Jody Scheckter, Brian Redman, and so it went on.
Albert,
Mario Andretti.
yes.
And that led to that Can-Am car as well.
Yes, the Lola car.
Yeah, which was huge. Huge car.
Yes.
How did you get into that thing?
Easy. Well, you huge.
Well, you
Man.
weren't huge,
No.
but it was a big... What was that like to drive that thing?
Good,
Yeah.
powerful. Very, very powerful, and it was probably one of the best cars.
I can remember. I can
Best
imagine
setup.
you and Gilles having a laugh about that car. So when Karl Haas suddenly found that his neighbour wanted to spend a lot of money and go Formula One racing,
Was he his neighbor?
yeah, they lived down the road in Chicago apparently, and so
Okay.
Beatrice
Yes.
came into Formula One. Karl Haas
True.
spent their money nicely. It was no deal for him. One of the drivers had to be Patrick Tambay in the Beatrice Lola
He-
Ford.
Yes, but before I was free to go, because I had still had my contract with Renault for 85, he got Alan Jones in the car. Alan kind of
Yeah,
got the car running, and I came in for 86.
which was amazing.
It was a good car, a very good car. It was the dream team with Ross Brown, Adrian Newey, Neil Otley, Alistair Caldwell, all the New Zealand guys, all the good guys from everywhere.
From McLaren and so
Yes,
forth.
Teddy
yeah.
Mayer had picked up every good guys as well left on the market.
But what was we know the engine had problems. What was the car like to drive
The car was
as a result?
beautiful.
Was it?
Yes, the engine was not reliable, wasn't powerful enough. It was just the beginning of the Ford. It was a bit of a problem between the engineers of Pioneer, which was a good little engine, but not powerful enough. So I got to Le Rouge Spa the first time, first lap, flat with a
Really?
flat. I was not getting to the corner very fast.
Yeah, but that wasn't only because of the power. That was also how good the car was.
I was joking.
Yeah. Patrick, you're a great believer in your son's talent, Adrian. You said to me before we started talking, you thought you think he's better than you were. I mean, that's quite a big thing to say.
Well, it's true. He's got a more eager way. He's like his mom, more than like me.
Well, you're not a sick old man. You're looking great, and you've got some big news this year because you've been very successful in bringing the Red Bull Air Race here to Cannes, and that's a lot of your work behind that. Tell us
Yeah.
about that.
Well,
You have the French Grand Prix coming to Ricard, but that's a small event compared to this one.
It's probably going to be a small event pretty soon,
Yeah.
I hope. Yes, I was looking for something to do after having to retire from the broadcast. As you know, a racing fan on the radio for watching the races and covering, being consultant for many years. And I passed it on to my son, and he's done the mic. I
Good.
said, now what do I do? Took about 3 years to put the deal together with the mayor of Cannes. Obviously, Cannes is known for the film festival and for the very, very cultural aspect. They're not into motor racing or engines. I hope it's not too loud. It has not been too loud.
But another nice touch was getting a lot of the old aircraft from the Roland
Yes.
Garros era.
It's going to grow. It's going to be rediscovered, and we're going to discover that the art of racing or the plane technology started in Cannes, Nice, and
But did it? Did it
another
all
year.
start here?
Yes, yes. This is where the first race was held. The first air show race was held.
Patrick, when you look back now at your, we asked you about, we spoke about the Lola. Would you say that the Lola F1 car, Beatrice Lola, was maybe the best handling car you drove?
Mm-hmm.
And what would be the worst F1 car, or any racing car? Go on.
I remember pulling that car out of the workshop first time.
The Lola this is. Or no,
No.
the car you're going
The
to
worst
describe.
car.
Okay, right, yeah.
But I'm not gonna say what it is.
Okay.
We've put it on the sidewalk, and one wheel was off the ground.
Oh no.
The other one was on the sidewalk, back in the sidewalk, all the team behind it, and I go and sit on the front wheel. That was off.
Oof.
And I heard I said, Patrick, get up. And voilà.
So that was the McLaren M28.
That was a McLaren 28, unfortunately.
Wow. Patrick, we have the French Grand Prix coming back to France, not before time.
10
And-
years.
Yeah, and as one of the great French Grand Prix drivers, tell us a little bit about that great time when the oil companies were all behind French drivers. Did you have an oil company pushing you at any stage?
Yeah.
But what stage did ELF come to you though?
I had been the ELF driver, the first winner of the driving school in Castellet. And
That was the Winfield School, right?
it was not. It would become the Winfield School, but at the time it was Renault ELF.
Okay.
And they gave me a bunch of money, sponsorship money, a car, a little truck, a mechanic, and
Amazing, huh?
sent me off to race.
Wasn't that a brilliant thing?
Yes. They're trying to redo it now. The new Winfield with Garcia is trying to recreate the same atmosphere behind one driver.
But the way the oil industry is consolidated now, we could never have again what we had in the 70s in France, where we had Antin, Motul, BP, ELF, Total, all of them. It was amazing how many oil companies were involved, weren't they? And it was competitive between them. And there were this amazing array of drivers.
Yeah, they were all after they would try to beat the Half Boys.
Yeah, well, the Tyrrell thing with Francois Seber was the
Yes.
culmination.
Took me 2 years in Formula Renault, 3 years in Formula 2, and then Formula 1.
Yeah, but you didn't get the ELF help into Formula One, did you? Why did that
Well,
go?
I had a little bit of a contract.
Yeah, but it didn't help you get the drive,
no,
though.
No,
So why did that fall away then? Why didn't you follow the ELF path?
because I believed in myself to be able to drive a Formula 1 car quick
On your
enough.
own? Yeah,
Yes.
And that was the Theodore,
Yes,
which was a good car.
yes. Running with the Ferraris,
Maurice Nunn, Teddy Yip. It was a fun time.
running up front. Can you
Maurice
believe
Nunn.
in the inside?
Tell me about Maurice Nunn.
Monon. Monon is Monon, it still is Monon, which is good for him.
But he was so practical, wasn't he? We came up with the word at the
Practical.
same time.
No nonsense.
No.
No.
But a good racing brain,
Yes. Simple, practical cars.
like the car.
Yeah, cars.
And it was a drivable car that you loved. And one final question. What do you think about Ross Brawn, with whom you worked at Beatrice Lola, now being the head man of Formula One?
J'ai beaucoup d'espoir hein, en Ross Brown. J'avais beaucoup d'espoir. Je ne suis pas certain qu'il ne soit maître de la destinée de la Formule 1. Je pensais qu'il allait s'imposer comme un leader dans la Formule 1, d'idées. Bon, ok, le halo, non, c'est pas terrible. Les petits garçons sur la grille pour tenir les panneaux, alors qu'il y avait des great girls avec des jolies formes juste avant un départ de course de Grand Prix. On arrive sur sa place et là, on n'est pas, on regarde plus les fesses de la fille. On ne les regarde plus. Il n'y en a plus. C'est pas terrible. C'est pas terrible. Je pense que Ross Brown devrait. Enfin bon, je suis un vieux con. Je suis comme un vieux con qui parle. Comme Jacques Lafitte aussi, pareil. On a vu des vieux, on vient d'une autre époque.